Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Today we're going to continue reading Volume 1. Last week we ended in the book of Heaven. In Spanish, it has numbers, so it would be 137. That's where we stopped. So we would start today in 138. Although in the book of Heaven in English, there are no numbers, at least in Volume 1. But for those who follow the Book of Heaven in Spanish, well, you would have like more or less like an idea where we stopped and from where we're going to continue today. So last week we read that, and we reviewed, right, that Luisa is resigning herself to his holy will. Even when there were contradictions on the part of the priest. So she would offer her pains for their salvation, and she accepted everything that the Lord was giving her, wanted from her. So let's continue Luisa's journey to see what she is living at this point of her life. After this, I received another mortification, and this was having to change confessor, because since he was a religious, he was called back to the convent. I was content with him, and most of those things mentioned above occurred when he was in the countryside. Especially during the last year, he was my confessor because of the cholera spreading in town. He was there for 6 months. My confessor did not give many reproaches. He would let me remain in that state of suffering for 1 day, and then he would come. So it was less than a month since he had withdrawn to the countryside, and it became known that he was leaving. This was painful for me, not because I was attached, but because of the necessity I had to him. Now we can stop here for a minute. What was the necessity that Luisa had from her confessor? What do you guys think? Well, the confessor would give her the obedience to come back. If the confessor wasn't there, she was not going to come back ever. So that's why she said, this was painful for me, right? Not because I was attached to the confessor, but because of the necessity I had of him. So I went to the Lord and I told him of my pain. See, she was here in this little sentence. We can see and understand how close was Luisa with Jesus. It's like a daughter with a dad, right? Or with the oldest brother, but she had a lot of confidence in Jesus, and she just went to them and she said, so I went to the Lord and I told him of my pain. She didn't keep it to herself. And he said to me, do not want to afflict yourself because of this. I am the master of hearts, and I can turn them and turn them again as I please. If he did something good to you, he has been nothing but a vessel which received from me and gave to you. So I will do with the others. What do you fear then? My dear, as long as you keep turning your eye now to the right, now to the left, and you let it set now on one thing, now on another, and you do not have your eye fixed in me, you will not be able to walk speedily along the way of heaven. So this is a clue that Jesus is giving Luisa, and it's a clue that Jesus is giving us as well, right? If we turn our eye one way, if we turn our eye another way, but we don't have our eyes fixed in him, then we will not be able to walk this path that he is uh, telling us that we can have, which is speedily go to heaven. On the contrary, you will always be limping and will not be able to follow the influence of grace. Therefore, I want you to look at all the things that happen around you with holy indifference, remaining all intent on me alone. Holy indifference. That is so important, the indifference. Many times in life, we lack of holy indifference. Many times in life, like we have a situation at home, or we have a situation at work, or whatever, and our senses are like speeded up. I would say they're inflamed, and then we react. But we don't react with holy indifference. It's all the opposite. We react to the situation. Sometimes we get nervous. Sometimes we fear. Sometimes we're not. We're not like we're against what is happening, and then we react against what we don't like, instead of knowing that Jesus is always with us, and that whatever is happening to us is because he is giving us that pain, because through that pain and through that mortification, he's going to give us more graces. But we need to have holy indifference, right? I don't know if anyone would like to add something to this part of what we read. So after these words, my heart acquires so much strength that I suffer little or nothing from such a great loss, and of one who had done so much good to my soul. So it happened that I changed confessor, and I returned to the confessor who used to confess me when I was little. But only the Lord be always blessed, but may the Lord be always blessed, who uses those very ways which appear to be contrary to us, almost as if they were to bring harm to our soul, for our greater good and for his glory. So it happened that I began to open my soul, since up to that point I had not told anything to anyone. See, that was one of Luisa's greatest problems, that she couldn't open her soul to nobody. And the Lord wanted her to speak with the confessor and to talk to the confessor and tell the confessor everything. But at last she started opening up. As much effort that I would make over myself, I could not manage. On the contrary, I would see myself more impotent to tell of the things of my interior. The blushing I felt at the mere thought of telling these things was such that I felt it would be even easier for me to tell the ugly sins. Where this came from, I don't know. From the confessor, I don't think so, because he was so good, trustful, sweet, patient, and listening. He would take the most exact care of the soul. He had his eyes on everything, so that I might walk straight. From me, I don't think so either, because I felt a block over my soul, and I had all the will to free myself and to hear at least what the confessor thought about it. But I felt it was impossible for me to do it. To me, I think that there was an intervention of the Lord. So finding myself with a new confessor, I began little by little to open my interior. Many times the Lord commanded me to manifest the confessor what he had told me. And when I would not do it, the Lord would scold me. he would reproach me severely, and at times he reached the point of telling me that if I did not do it, he would not come anymore. So these are big words. What Jesus told Louisa. Imagine her, she wanted him to be always with her. She never wanted to for him to be out of her sight. And then here is Jesus telling me, well, you better open your interior to the confessor, because if you don't do that, what's going to happen is that I will not come anymore. Which for me is the most bitter pain, such that all other pains compared to this seem to me nothing over than blades of straw. Therefore, the fear that he would really not come was so great that I did as much as I could in order to manifest my interior. It is true that many times this cost me. It is true that many times this cost me much, but the fear of losing my dear Jesus would make me overcome everything. On the part of the confessor, I was also pushed to tell him where such a state was coming from, what happened to me when I was in that doziness, what was the cause of it. So see, Louisa didn't want to tell the confessor what was happening to her in that state of doziness. But Jesus told her, you need to tell the confessor what is happening to you. I want him to know. So she started opening up and telling him. And actually, there's another lecture. I think it's in volume 6. Oh, actually, it's in volume 6, 120, that Jesus tells Louisa that she should open her heart, her soul, only to the confessor. That she should not open her soul to anyone else, because then she will lose that word I cannot say in English, but in other words, she will lose the enthusiasm of what she is experiencing in her soul. She will lose it if she opens up to other people. So this is something that we should really think about when we're in this in this path of the divine will. We should open our soul only to Jesus, and of course to the confessor. If the confessor knows about the divine will, even though the confessor does not know about the divine will, and we feel that urgency to speak about what's happening to us, we should only open our soul to the confessor, nobody else. He would now command me to manifest it. Now he would force me through the precepts of obedience. And now he would place me before me the fear that I might be living in illusion and deceit, living within myself, while if I manifested to the priest, I could be more certain and tranquil, and that the Lord never permits that the priest be mistaken when the soul is obedient. So this is something that she had to do under obedience, because opening herself to the priest, it will give her tranquility, right? And knowing that whatever she told the priest, the Lord was going to give the priest enough graces so he would understand what is going on in her soul, right? And that would give her peace and tranquility. And that was not something that came only from the things that she was thinking. So Jesus Christ pushed me from one side, the confessor from the other. It seemed to me that sometimes they were banding together, the two of them, the confessor and Jesus Christ. So I managed to manifest my soul. The past confessor would not do that. He would not ask me a single question. He would not try to know what was happening to me in that state of doziness. And so I myself did not know how to come out to talk about these things. See, that would happen to us if we go to confession and there is a priest that doesn't know about the divine will or doesn't understand. Well, that might happen to us. It doesn't matter. The most important thing is that if you feel the urgency to do it, it's because Jesus wants you to say it. For some reason, we don't know why. He'll work in that, in the confessor. So the concern he had was that I be resigned, conformed to the will of God, bearing the cross that the Lord had given me. So much so that if sometimes he saw me a little bothered, he would awful great disappointment. So it happened that I spent about another year with this confessor in the same state described above. And since the confessor knew where that state of suffering was coming from, he told me that when Jesus Christ wanted me to have suffering, I should go to him to ask for the obedience. I remember that one morning after communion, the Lord told me, daughter, the iniquities that are committed are so many that the scale of my justice is about to overflow. Now, know that I will pour heavy scourges upon men, especially a most fierce war in which I will make a slaughter of human flesh. Ah, yes, he continued, almost crying. I gave bodies to men that they might be as many sanctuaries where I would go and delight in them, but they have turned them into sewers of rot, whose stench is such that they force me to stay far away from them. See what recompense I receive for so much love and for so many pains that I suffered for them. Who has ever been treated like me? Ah, no one. But what is the cause? It is the excessive love I have for them. Therefore, I will try with the chastisements. So here we have Jesus, right? That he is telling her that he made us, right? He made us human beings, but because he wanted to delight himself in us, right? And on the contrary, instead of being sanctuaries, just like he was telling Louisa, we have become sewers of rot because we act with our own will, right? So then he says, but why am I going to scourge men right now? I'm going to do it because of my excessive love. So everything that Jesus does, everything that God does is out of love. So sometimes chastisements are a signal of love. He doesn't want to destroy us. He just wants us to come back to him, because if he tries to do it through the way he talks to us and through the law he has given us, and we just don't obey his laws, well, then we act in the way we should not act, and that is the cause of the chastisements. I felt my heart split with pain. It seemed to me that the offenses they were giving him were so many that in order to escape, he wanted to hide within me, almost to find a refuge. I also felt such pains because men were to be chastised that it seemed to me that I, not they, was to suffer. Even more, it seemed to me that had I been able, it would have been more bearable for me to suffer all those chastisements myself rather than to see others suffer. So she is putting herself in front of everybody, right? In front of all mankind, to suffer herself instead of letting Jesus chastise everybody. I tried to compassionate him as much as I could. And with all my heart, I said to him, "Oh, holy spouse, Hold back the scourges which your justice keeps prepared. If the multiplicity of the iniquities of man is great, there is the immensity of your blood in which you can bury them, and so your justice will be satisfied. If you have nowhere to go to delight yourself, come into me. I give you all my heart, that you may somehow rest and delight with it. It is true that I too am a bilge of vices, but you can purify me and make of me what you want. But oh, please, placate yourself. If the sacrifice of my life is necessary, oh, how gladly I would make it for you, as long as I may see your own image spared. And the Lord, interrupting my speaking, continued telling me, here is exactly where I wanted you. If you offer yourself to suffer, no longer every now and then, as up until now, but continuously every day for a certain given time, I will spare man. So what Jesus is telling her, right, that this is what he was really looking into, to see Louisa offering herself to free others. And that is exactly what Jesus did all his life. Exactly what he did. He put himself between the Father and humanity, and he gave himself, right. Uh, he put himself there in order to free us all. So now Jesus is asking her to do exactly what he did at that time, because if not, man is going to be scourged.
Mirta, I want to say something. Um, so if we see the path the Lord is guiding Luisa, um, so she started by asking for obedience, right? There's a certain point before where she said that she was about to ask for obedience while doing the communion, and then immediately after, the Lord now he has her in the point of she offering herself to become well, in the path of becoming a victim soul, right? So that's where we start sometimes asking things. That's part of the path of the Lord, of following the Lord. And then the Lord purifies us. He keeps purifying us, as Luisa, she's like saying, but now in the state of a victim soul, right? So um, that's what most pleases the Lord, right? That's why he kind of finds some kind of joy when he finds her offering herself, so like a place where he can rest and he can
Exactly.
find yeah, some release of all those loads, heavy loads mankind puts on him, um, and will put on him, past, present, and future generations. So I would just want to highlight that part of the path, right? So we first look after the Lord by asking something. This in this moment, Luisa was asking obedience, but then everything just the Lord like uh made a beautiful job. Like now she's asking to become a victim soul. Like she wants the sufferers and be the intermediate between chastisements and justice and love. So that's beautiful, that path.
Exactly. And that is one of her um, offices. Um, I'm not sure if that's the word that I should use. Oficio. That
Uh,
that
ser-
is one of the jobs, I would say.
service, yeah.
Huh? So in Spanish, oficio, that is one of the jobs that of Luisa. Uh, she is a victim soul, and we are going to become also a victim soul because we are called to clothe ourselves with the life of Jesus, and because of that, that is where we become victim souls. And as Luisa did, right, that she was the one who put herself like in between of God and men to avoid chastisements. Well, that is exactly where we're going to be in that same chain of Luisa. That is exactly where we are going to be, exactly with her, right? So it's beautiful the way Jesus was teaching her, and at the same time, looking at her, he is teaching us what is a soul that loves him in his divine will is going to end being, right? So see, look what it says here. See how I will do it? I will put you between my justice. So she is the one who placates the justice of God and the iniquities of the creatures. And when my justice sees itself filled with iniquities to the point of nothing being able to contain them, and is forced to send the thunderbolts of the scourges in order to chastise the creature, and finding you in the middle instead of striking them, you are the one who will remain struck. Only in this way will I be able to content you in sparing men, not otherwise. So Louisa is the lightning conductor. She is the lightning conductor, and we are in that same place where Louisa is. And the thing is that as we go into these divine teachings, uh, we want that. We're not going to avoid asking the Lord that we want to be in that same place. We want to be also the lightning conductors. And when we live or when we get the grace and the of living in the divine will, um, we are going to pray with the life of Jesus, right? We're going to clothe us with the life of Jesus, and we're going to do exactly what Jesus did at that moment. I remained all confused. I didn't know what to tell him. My nature did its part, being frightened and trembling. But I saw that my good Jesus was waiting for an answer, whether I accepted or not. So seeing myself almost forced to speak, I said to him, "O my most divine spouse, on my part, I would be ready to accept. But how is this going to work out with a confessor? If he does not want to come every once in a while, how can it be possible that he will come every day? Free me from this cross, that the confessor be needed in order to free me, and then everything will be arranged between you and me." Then the Lord said to me, "Go to the confessor and ask him for the obedience. If he wants, you will tell him everything I told you, and you will stick to whatever he says. See, it will not be only for the good of creatures that I want these continuous sufferings, but also for your good. In this state of suffering, I will purify your soul thoroughly, in such a way as to suppose you to form mystical marriage with me. And after this, I will make the final transformation, in such a way that the two of us will become like two candles placed on the fire. One is transformed into the other, and they become one. See, for the first time, Jesus is telling her what is going to happen to her, right? He's telling her, I'm going to purify you. Like he was telling her this for the longest time, but now he is telling her what is going to happen to her when her soul is going to be totally purified, and there is going to be a mystical marriage. Something that is mystical is not true. It's mystical, right? But then he says, I will make the final transformation. So first is purification, then is the mystical marriage, and then is the final transformation, which is the fusion between both of them. Just like it says, it's like two candles placed on the fire. One is transformed into the other, and they become one. But what a beautiful way of Jesus telling her, I want you and me to be one. In this way, I will transform myself into you, and you will remain crucified with me. Would you not be happy if you could say, the bridegroom is crucified, but the bride also is crucified? Yes, there is nothing that renders me dissimilar from him. And again, the same word, dissimilar. Jesus was telling her, you are dissimilar to me. That's why you don't understand. But now he's telling her, oh, well, if the bridegroom is crucified and the bride is also crucified, there is nothing dissimilar between the bridegroom and the bride. So when I was able to speak with the professor, I told him everything that the Lord had told me. And since the Lord had said to me those words for a certain given time, without notifying me of the exact time during which I was to suffer continuously, I took it as about 40 days, more or less. And now it has been about 12 years that I continue to be in it. So at the beginning, she said, okay, it's like 40 days. He said, okay, no problem. But it has been already 12 years, and not 12 years. We're going to keep on reading, and we'll see that it's going to be year after year after year after year, 60 years of her life. But may God be always blessed. May his inscrutable judgment be always adored. I believe that if the blessed Lord had let me understand with clarity the length of time I was to be in bed, my nature would have been brightened very much and would hardly have submitted itself to it. Although I remember that I have always been resigned, yet I did not know then the preciousness of the cross, as the Lord has made me know during the cross of those 12 years. Nor would the confessor have adopted himself to give me the obedience. So I said to the confessor that the Lord wanted him to give me the obedience to remain continuously suffering for about 40 days, and I told him all the rest. To my surprise, because I thought it was impossible, the confessor told me that if it was truly the will of God, he would give me the obedience, because in reality, it was not that he could not come, but rather a little bit of human respect. My soul rejoiced very much, for I would be able to content the Lord, and therefore have the creature spared. But my nature was very much afflicted in receiving disobedience, so much so that for a few days I was very saddened. My soul also was affected very much, thinking that I was to remain for such a long time without being able to receive Jesus in the sacrament, my sole and only comfort. At times I felt a war so very fierce within me that I myself did not know what had happened to me. The devil too added many things to it, but my good Jesus put a remedy into everything. And this is how he did it. So here we have Luisa telling us all what has happened to her between her confessors. One left, the other one came. That one listened to her, then another one came. He didn't even want to listen to her. And then at the end, he said, okay, well, whatever the Lord is telling you, I'm going to give you the obedience. Very interesting, right? And then through all the years, she had more than 40 confessors. She has been the only soul, the only creature, the only human being that has had so many confessors in her life. A beautiful story that we should all keep on reading. I don't know if someone else wants to add something to this lecture, because the following thing that we're going to read is about the way the Lord speaks to us, and there's 4 different ways. So it's kind of a long path, and because it's a long path, we can leave it for next Wednesday. I don't want to leave it like in the middle, because it's good to have it all read at the same time. So what do you think about all these sufferings of Louisa in such a young age?
So she's telling us what happened to her, and we will go through the same thing, maybe not the same way that she did, but the only way to be purified is through suffering. To the way that we take what happens to us in our daily life, right? And we know that when those things happen, he is purifying us. And by going through those things with him, we are learning what she says, how precious, the preciousness. I did not know the preciousness of the cross. And the Lord is making us know during the course of our life as well how precious it is, whatever he allows for us to go through. So let's remember that, because going through those pains, we know that we are being purified. And by being purified and going through that pain, we can, united with him, we are helping others.
That is so true. But then here we have like a counterpart. Like this is the way we understand, right? And the way that Jesus is leading us to perfection and to holiness through suffering, because that's the only way that it can be done. But at the same time, we were raised in a society that is against suffering.
Mm-hmm.
And it's against sufferings in many ways. Even in if a person has like any disease or pain and just can't stand it anymore, and the society says no problem. If you can deal with that pain, if it's so harsh on you and you are going to die anyways because of what's happening to you, maybe cancer or maybe another, another condition, a critical condition. Well, if you want to end your life, I'm here to help you. There's no reason why you have to continue with that pain. So we all run away from suffering and from pain. Even like, for example, the pain of a violent relationship, for example, right? Okay, well, if you marry that person and that person is violent, okay, no problem. What you have to do is just divorce and take that pain away. You are meant for better things. You don't need to keep on suffering in life, because there's a way that you can sign a paper and then you're going to be relieved from that pain, and your life continues. And there's so many ways that our society is leading us um, into the wrong path, because the right path is just like Jesus was telling Louisa, is putting herself on the cross with him to become one with him. And that is the way that we are called to live our life. That is the way. And then not only living suffering and being miserable. No, it's a different pain. It's the pain that on the outside is painful, but on the inside is happiness, because of the holy indifference. Just like one of the lectures that we read today, a holy indifference. No matter what happens to me, I know that is good for me, because the Lord is giving me what I need to be holy and to become one with Him. So this is like a way of Jesus telling us, you want to be happy with the happiness that I created you. Well, if you want to be happy with the happiness that I created you, your happiness should be divine. And a divine happiness includes pain, includes suffering, includes selflessness, includes putting ourselves in the middle of chastisements. That's an interesting way of looking at pain, right?
That's what he says also in the hours of the Passion, this is my heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So that also for the Lord is like he might see us like wanted us to see those baby steps, right, on us, like willing to suffer for him. He's patient, like he doesn't want like you to love the suffer as much as he did, but he wants us to start with our intention of start doing those sacrifices, just as he's guiding Luisa to do so. For years, I think so. He did that for years on her, not like from today for tomorrow morning. She was like willing that to go through that kind of suffering, but maybe doing it also increasing our love for him. I think that's part of the great important things that might link us to become really really decided to become a victim soul, like being totally in this position to uh, to suffer whatever comes in our life, whatever comes ahead of us, even if it's the end of the world, it's a bomb or a pandemic or whatever is coming. They're preparing. Uh, it doesn't matter. It will just take us to Him to understand the way He loves creatures, because we are not loving creatures the way God does. But I mean, we should only look at Him, look through Him. Whatever is causing pain to Him, whatever is making Him suffer. So if we connect with that suffering from that perspective about what men do to Him, we will be able to to make something relevant to Him, to be His rest, His comfort. Whenever He feels, we will not fix it. We will not fix it. He will do. He already did, but He only wants us to take those baby steps and show some love for Him. That love that nobody is giving. That's all.
And and he did all that because he took our lives into himself. and he lived our life. It was a life of um of mm, of many debts of love to God, to the Father. So he came to repair us and to redo us. And he already did it, but we were not there. And now what we need to do is just put ourselves, just like he told Louisa, like two candles. You put it in the fire and it becomes one. So you are crucified with me, I'm crucified with you. And the effects of that crucifixion, of that suffering, of those pains is going to be transmitted, right? If that's the word that I can say, extended is the perfect way to say it, extended to all generations. But it has to be done with me. If you want to do it yourself, you will not be able to do it because you're limited. But with me and my divine will, everything is possible. So that is what he is showing her, right? The way how to do it. And it's beautiful because now we see that we don't see Jesus like we used to see him, like if he was a hero, right? Like a hero, like just on the cross, that last day of his life and all those things that happened to him in those 24 hours, or since Thursday evening till Friday evening till 3 o'clock. No, now we can see that was nothing compared to what he suffered during his life. He suffered 3 passions. And we're going to read that a little further. The 3 passions, and the first passion is the passion of love, and then the passion of sin, and then the passion of the Jewish, or our passion, I would say. So since the very beginning, the very moment that he was conceived in Mother Mary's womb, he was already crucified. He was already crucified, and he was already crucified interiorly in his soul. Why? Because he conceived us with him. And he conceived us with all our sins. So since that very moment of his conception, he started redoing our life. And he started living our life. And giving the glory to God, the glory that we didn't give God, he started giving it to God. And it took him 33 years to finish all what needed to be done in order to open heaven for all of us, and to tell us, look, this is the way of going into heaven. But now he's giving us even a better way, not to wait until the end of our life here in earth. He said, no, you can live heaven from here. With me, you can do it in my divine will. You want it, it's done. If just believe in what I'm telling you, read the book of heaven, believe it. I'm going to give you so many graces. I'm going to teach you the divine teachings of what my divinity did, through me when I was in earth. So it's a calling that the Lord is giving us through the book of heaven, and it's like a striking light in our soul that really converts our soul in a little sun, where we can see what we didn't see before. So let's thank God for his teaching through Jesus. And not only knowing that his obedience took him up to the cross, but that through his obedience, he is showing us that that's the way that we should live our life as well. Beautiful teachings, right? Well, my brothers and sisters, if there's nothing else to say, I will see you next Wednesday. And next Wednesday, we are going to be reading about the 4 ways in which the Lord speaks to us. Very interesting lecture, so Don't tune off. Tune in next Wednesday. Take care and God bless you all.